All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the ASAP Network. My name is Will Polson, and I am here joined by two of the most beautiful men on the network, and we are here to bring you a new show. It's similar to what we were doing with the recaps, but we are actually turning this into a whole new thing to where we're not just recapping the game anymore. This is now Sports Corner. This is our new show that we're going to be having on. This is going to be your crew for Monday night. Myself, Mr. Nate the Great, and then Tim the Sarge. Is it Fiedler? Fiedler is the correct way to pronounce it. Sure. So this is going to be your crew. So let's sit tight and let's get comfortable. We got a lot to talk about here. So, but before we get going, Nate, I'm going to turn it over to you. You know, today we had real talk and everybody was booming in the comment section for that. So what could happen if you're down there in the comment section here on our live videos?
If you like, comment, and share this stream, you can have you could be the viewer of the month and win that free ASAP t-shirt.
Alrighty, and what if they may be a little bit hesitant in the comment section, but they still want to rock the t-shirt?
For $13.99 plus shipping and handling, you can get the ASAP t-shirt if you just talk to one of us. Christmas is rolling around, so that'll be a good time to buy it for a family member or a friend or someone up there.
All right. So yeah, I mean that comes down to it. $14.99 plus shipping and handling. You can get your very own ASAP t-shirt. So let's get into today's show. So let's start with Monday Night Football. Obviously, we're just coming off of the ending of that, and man, a wrench has been thrown into the NFL playoffs. I tell you what, that comeback by Lamar Jackson was nothing short of legendary. I tell you what, a very entertaining game by the final score, 47-42 after a last-minute awkward safety, very awkward safety, but it's part of the score, so we'll give it to Baltimore. Man, I tell you what, the playoff picture just got spicy in the AFC. Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you first. What were your takeaways from this game?
Well, the takeaways, I thought it was an awesome game. I thought it was going to come down at least by 3 points. Like I said, you said that safety at the end kind of threw that one out. But the first quarter, I enjoyed the first quarter. It was a quick, fast-paced first quarter. It was the Browns that were driving first, and they were cutting through the Ravens defense like Swiss cheese almost. They seemed like they had it on, and it was like all short passes what was going on. But Ravens returned the favor. Just like I said, Lamar is like the miniature version of Cam Newton. All he can do is run. He cannot throw the ball. On the first half, he was like 3 for 6 for 53 yards, but he ran it 7 times for 78 yards for 2 touchdowns. I think what really helped the Ravens to get over was the catch by Brown in the quarter for that touchdown because he had 3 drops in that game. But like I said, it was a good game, and it was kind of I was a little bit hesitant once Lamar went down. I thought the Browns would sneak away finish them off, but that didn't turn out to be the fact because Justin Tucker came in to the save.
Lamar going down was interesting. I tell you what, as I'm sitting there watching the game, I had it on mute. I had some people over here watching the game with us, and then all of a sudden you see Lamar, actually the Ravens come back onto the field, and you see Trace McSorley jogging out there whenever they're down by a point, and you're sitting there thinking, what is going on? I mean, it was just absolutely nuts. I'm not even going to acknowledge that comment that's there. Nate, we'll turn it over to you. What were your takeaways from this game?
So the comment above that, can the Ravens make their way back to the playoffs? I'm going to address that first before I address your question. And I would say that would depend on what Miami does in this game. If Miami does in their game against New England on Sunday, if Miami loses, I think it's going to be Baltimore's playoffs all the way. I mean, yeah, Denver can, but I'm not going to bring that up right now. They're probably not. But as for this game, it was really really high scoring, and those are the kind of games that I get fascinated with. It's the highest combined scoring game up to this point so far, other than maybe Browns and Cowboys. And then this was the 1 point short of the Lions and Saints game that we had 2 years ago. And Brandon Herrera says 35 total points in the fourth quarter. That's just to tell you how crazy that was.
I tell you what, whenever I'm looking at this game, and whenever the first game I thought of whenever I was watching this game was that Rams-Chiefs back and forth that we had a couple of years ago. And man, what an entertaining game that was. But that game had defensive touchdowns. That game had offensive touchdowns. I mean, that game was absolutely all over the place. Mm-hmm. And it was just so entertaining to watch. But man, this game was just all offense. Absolutely phenomenal. We got to see both offenses just absolutely explode today. And like Brandon Herrera mentioned, 35 points combined in the fourth quarter. Nate, I need you to move your mic back. You're breathing right into it. But yeah, I mean, this game was absolutely electric. I mean, whenever it came down to it, whenever you're looking at a game that's 21-14 going into half, you don't expect it to end 47-42. You would think second half adjustments would be made. And yeah, all the adjustments were made on offense. I mean, it just kept getting more and more explosive. So let's start with the Ravens in this one. Nate already hit on it a little bit, but this game puts them at 8 wins. If I'm not mistaken, they're still just outside the hunt behind Miami, but they do have the same exact record between Miami and Baltimore. I'm going to turn it over to you, Sarge. Where do you see Baltimore ending up? Is this enough of a wrench to put them in the playoff picture at the end of the season, or do you think they're still on the outside looking in?
I believe this is just look at their schedule. They got Jacksonville, the New York Jets, and Cincinnati. I could see that that the Ravens can do damage, and I believe that they can win all 3 games with ease with that. And I believe that they'll probably jump over Miami, and also they'll jump over Cleveland as well.
All right. And Nate, I'm pretty sure you said you already see them going into the playoffs, right?
Yes, but I have a question. 2012, Joe Flacco's year. They were 6th seed in that playoff game. Every single one of those games were away. And they won the Super Bowl against that San Francisco 49ers team. If they're the 7th seed this year, can you see them making a Super Bowl run?
I'll go first on that one. I'm going to say no. And because I say that, I don't think this team has the chance to be a Super Bowl team this year. Lamar Jackson's not the MVP anymore. Let's face it. Okay. He's not playing to that caliber. In fact, he's not even close. Whenever you see who he is now that defenses have tapes on him, and not to mention the offense has not changed a lick. I mean, they finally quit force feeding the ball to Mark Ingram. You see what happens when J.K. Dobbins gets to cook. I mean, the guy was phenomenal tonight. I mean, it was hard not to be phenomenal on the offensive side of the ball when you look at the score, but no, I don't believe in this Ravens team that much. I believe that they're going to have a cakewalk into the 7 seed at minimum. They may even with that easy schedule. I mean, the Colts could still lose a game. The Browns could still lose another game. Miami's going to lose a couple games. They could still find their way in the 6 seed, maybe even the 5 seed if it really comes down to it. Because if you're looking at the rest of their schedule, they should easily be an 11-win team if they're actually a playoff team. But yeah, no, I don't think this team has. I think Buffalo's too well-rounded. I think the Chiefs are too well-rounded. whenever it comes down to it. I think they're going to fall short. I could see them getting a first-round win because I still don't believe in the Steelers. I don't believe in the Titans. But no, I don't. I think someone's going to figure out the Ravens. Sarge, I'll turn it over to you. Where do you stand? Do you think this is still a Super Bowl contending team?
Well, if you remember about 2012, that was of that Super Bowl that was still 2 halves when that power outage went out. Baltimore went cooking after that, so conspiracy theory right there. But this year, I do not see them as a playoff team. That's when it looks like Lamar Jackson always struggles, is when it comes to the playoffs. They were primed to make the Super Bowl last year, I believe, and they just got pounced on from the Titans with that. So I'm gonna have to say no.
This team just strikes me as too one-dimensional. Whenever it comes down to it, they can run the ball, and that's awesome. But whenever a great game from Lamar Jackson is considered 163 passing yards, like this year, that's not acceptable. And yes, I understand whenever it comes to the later months, when you're going to be in games where it's snowing, you're going to be in game where it's just disgusting weather. And the ground and pound is going to be very important. But everybody knows that that's the Ravens' bread and butter. And that's why they forced Lamar Jackson into throws. Yeah, he did okay tonight, but a lot of his success also came from the rush. I mean, he had, 2 rushing touchdowns today? Had a couple of passing ones as well, but nothing about his game today, other than the comeback at the end, really struck me as in, this is Lamar, this is MVP Lamar, this is Super Bowl caliber Lamar Jackson. I mean, this is just, it's going to come down to that offense for me. That defense is still fine. I mean, yeah, they allowed 42 tonight, but I mean, the Ravens defense is good too. And they allowed, just as much. So both teams have decent defenses. The Ravens significantly better, but they even allowed 42 points. But yeah, I don't believe this team's a Super Bowl contender. Nate, do you?
Oh, no. No, I don't. But I read something where they believe that they were a Super Bowl contender. I do think that they're going to get past that first round, especially if they play, maybe the Titans in the first round. I don't think that they're going to be a 5th seed team, though. I mean, if the Browns have won this game, then that 5th seed would be out. But I can't see them getting 5th seed, so maybe 6th or 7th.
I'm just saying it's still a possibility. I mean, honestly, they're only 1 game behind. All teams only have 3 games left. It's still a possibility for Baltimore if Indianapolis and Cleveland both find a way to lose a couple of games here at the end of the stretch. I mean, obviously, I don't have all their schedules right here sitting in front of me, but Sarge put us onto the schedule for the Baltimore Ravens. And I mean, if they don't end with 11 wins, it's going to be kind of sad, to be honest. If they don't find a way to win these couple of games, I can almost promise you they're not a Super Bowl team, because if you can't beat those teams, I don't know who you're beating whenever it comes to the postseason. But let's talk about the flip side of the coin a little bit. We've talked about the Ravens. We've talked about their playoff hopes. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. Still, again, putting up 42 points is nothing to be upset about by any means. Yes, of course, if you put up 42, you'd like to win the game. But let's talk about them as a whole. Where are we thinking here? Because obviously they're still sitting. They're still sitting at the number 4 or the number 5 seed, the number 1 wild card spot. Or did they fall back to behind the Colts now? Are they at the 6th seed? They may be because they lost, but I think they may have the same record as the Colts now.
Yeah, they have the same record as the Colts. No, they're 5th seed because the Browns beat the Colts earlier in the season.
There you go. So Cleveland's still sitting at the 5. I'm going to go in reverse order now. Sarge, I'll go to you first. What are you thinking on the Browns right now, playoff-wise? Do you still have confidence in this team? Did you ever have confidence in this team? Where are you sitting right now? Like, where's your stomach with the Cleveland Browns?
I have confidence with this team ever since they got rid of the Freddie Kitchens. Bringing in a new coach was probably like a blessing in disguise for Cleveland. But I'm just looking at their last 3 games. I only see one game that I can easily say it's a winnable game. That is against the New York Jets. Then after that game, they got the Giants, who has a pretty good defense. Their defense is clicking. Then their very last game is against the Pittsburgh. I don't think the Browns can beat Pittsburgh. on that last one. And also, I'm actually kind of looking at Miami's last three games. It's against New England, Las Vegas, and Buffalo. I don't think Miami can. I think LA can easily jump Miami when both Browns and Ravens can be in the playoffs. But I think it's going to be hard for the Browns to keep that playoff hopes alive against the Giants and the Steelers.
I said a couple of weeks ago that the Dolphins are the team that's currently in the playoffs that I see ending up on the outside. I'll turn it over to you, Nate. Where do you see the Cleveland Browns right? Do you still have confidence in them? What are your takeaways for the Browns after this game?
So I was, looking at this, the whole schedule. I was looking at their last three games. I can see the Browns easily beating the New York Jets. Giants is a question mark, and then the next week I forgot who they play. Pittsburgh. So Browns, I can see them beating Pittsburgh. I can see them beating the Jets. Giants is a question mark.
Really? You have more confidence with them over Pittsburgh than New York?
Especially if James Conner is gone. Hurt that game.
No, I mean, I understand why you have more confidence. I mean, I understand why you have confidence in the Browns over the Steelers. I'm wondering where this hope against where the Giants' hope's coming from. What's your opinion on that?
That defense. Well, that Steelers defense is good too, but
I mean, they just dropped 42 on a good Ravens defense.
Yeah.
They've dropped 50 earlier this year. I mean, it was against the Cowboys, who have a terrible defense. But I mean, we've seen that they have an offense. It doesn't. To put up 42 against Baltimore is no easy task. I mean, it's your opinion. If you think the Giants are going to be there, then I mean, I understand. But
maybe.
I could see obviously not a divisional game, maybe a toss up. I just don't. I'm still not a believer in the Giants. I don't know where Tim stands on this. I'm not a believer in the Giants. Even if they win their division, I think they're a fluky team.
Yeah.
Their division, their defense is underrated, but not to a point where I think it deserves that much recognition. They held the Seahawks down, which is impressive. I'll give them that. It was a great game, but bad teams have great games. Great teams have bad games. I mean, it is what it is, and we saw a bad Seahawks game. It is what it is. They have a very explosive offense. They're not a 12-point team. They're not a 14-point team. But it is what it is. I don't know about you two, but I am very confident in Cleveland, and I still am. To put up 42 against Baltimore is absolutely nuts. The Baltimore defense should not be allowing that many points, and they probably, honestly, I don't know what the rest of their schedule has looked like, but I don't think they've allowed 42 at any point this season. I could be wrong. They may have came close, but it's one of those to where the Ravens defense is typically their bread and butter. Their offense is what's been in question all season. I'm very impressed by this team. And right now, if you're asking me on a whim, who am I taking in a playoff game between Lamar and Baker Mayfield? I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Whenever it comes down to it, I've seen Baker play the last couple of weeks. He's been playing outstanding. I think he's got maybe one of, if not the best play action game in the NFL. I think he sells it absolutely amazing. We've seen teams bite on it over and over again. And not to mention with the caliber of running backs he has on that team, you have to respect it anyway. I mean, you have to be looking for the run, and then he has the ability to make you pay. And I think he's been playing absolutely out of his mind. I don't think he's that upper echelon of quarterbacks. But right now, if I'm in a playoff game and I need Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield, I have them both on my bench. Which one am I putting out there? I'm putting Baker Mayfield out there. I'm going to ride the hot hand. I think Baker's been playing great. I think the Browns have been playing great. From an offensive point, that defensive front needs to step up a little bit. You can't be allowing 47 points. It can't happen. But yeah, no. I right now I'm still taking the Browns. I'm still very comfortable in the Browns. I still think I think they'll still have a win in the playoffs. It's just one of those teams that for some reason I have really high hopes on him. And maybe it's Kevin Stefanski really changing the culture in there, bringing a winning culture in his first year as the head coach in Cleveland. But yeah, take the Browns. I'm still more comfortable in them than the Ravens just because I trust the offense more when it comes down to it. But let's look forward ahead. Going into, week 15 or 14? We're going into Which week?
Week 15.
15? Going into week 15. Going into week 15, we have a Monday night game, which is a divisional game, another divisional game from the same exact division. Let's not talk about the Ravens and the Browns anymore. Let's talk about the Steelers and the Bengals. Interesting game. Interesting Monday night game on week 15. I tell you that. A team that is a 2-loss team and a team that is a 2-win team. Really weird game to be sitting here right now at Monday night. I wouldn't be shocked to see it get flexed. I haven't looked at the other games on the schedule, but it's just not exactly eye-appealing to me whenever I'm looking at it. Nate, I'll turn it over to you. What are your predictions for next week's Monday night?
Cincinnati gave up 30 points against the Dallas Cowboys. With Zach Taylor as their head coach, they've won 4 games, lost 23, I believe, and tied 1 time. I'm going with Pittsburgh in this one, and I'm going to go with Pittsburgh 30-17. Okay,
Sarge, I'll turn it over to you. Between Pittsburgh at Cincinnati, what are your first thoughts on this game?
Well, first of all, you can probably say this could be an easy trap game for the Steelers, but after losing 2 straight games, I don't think that's going to happen. The Steelers scores 26 points per game, and the Browns give up 26 points per game. And as the Steelers, they allow 18 points per game, and the Bengals will only score 18 points. So it's going to be a 26-18 game, and it's going to be the Steelers.
Wow. All right. I don't think anybody expects the Bengals to win this. It's still a Joe Burrow-less Bengals. If Joe Burrow's in this game, honestly, I would take the Bengals, which is crazy to say because the Bengals have no defense. They have no offensive line. They really have nothing other than a couple of decent wide receivers, Jesse Bates and Joe Burrow. But other than that, they're honestly a skeleton of a football team right now. But the Steelers are on a very bad skid right now. Losing to the football team is rough, and I don't think anybody really expected them to beat Buffalo. I know I didn't. I think Buffalo is the more complete team whenever it comes down to it. Plus, they've had a lot of key injuries on defense. They're looking rough. They're looking like a skeleton of who the Pittsburgh Steelers actually are supposed to be. I'm still going to go with the Steelers in this game by a decent margin. I would say a 14, maybe even a 14 to 17 points on the differential on the spread between these two. But the Steelers need a bounce back win quick because the remaining bit of their schedule, they have to take on Indianapolis and Cleveland. And it doesn't get easier, and once you get through those two, then you have the playoffs with who you could end up facing one of those two teams again. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where Pittsburgh lands up because I'm not comfortable in them. This is like the one team that has an amazing record that I feel like they're fluky. I mean, I really do. But I don't know where you guys stand on that. Tim, where do you stand on the Steelers while we're talking about the AFC North? What are your opinions on that?
The Steelers, they remind me of the Green Bay Packers of last year. The Packers had that great record of like 13-3, I believe. And they didn't do so hot in the playoffs, even though they made it to the championship series. I don't foresee the Pittsburgh making to the Super Bowl. There's too many tough teams in the AFC that they had to get through. Especially if Pittsburgh's not healthy, they're not going to make it. That's what I think.
Hell, even the 14-2 Ravens getting eliminated the first game they play. Can
I add on to that?
Yeah, Nate, go ahead.
A friend of mine said that last year's Green Bay Packers were the worst 13-3 in NFL history. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that statement. I think that this year's Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be the worst 13-3 team in NFL history.
What 2 games you think they win in? Right now they're at 11. You think they're winning 2 of those 3?
I think they might maybe beat Cleveland, and I think they'll beat Cincinnati.
Well, I hope
the Cleveland game is a toss-up, though.
Okay. No, I mean, it is a divisional game. Obviously, divisional games are going to be closer. You have more tape on the teams. The first time they played, I want to say it was it a close game? I feel like the Steelers kind of. I feel like the Steelers kind of blew the Browns out of the water on that game because I know the Ravens did the first time they played as well. It was not a pretty tight. But the Browns are on a whole new level right now. I don't know. Maybe it's just my confidence in the Browns and my lack of confidence in the Steelers. But, I mean, it is a game that they could win. It is a divisional game. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from. But All right. Unanimous on the Bengals not coming close to this game. So
Yeah.
we're reaching about the halfway point, so we're going to switch it over to another topic. That is it for our NFL segment. Now on Sports Corner, we're not exactly doing just the recap of the game, only talking NFL. This is a more open show to where we're going to be talking a little bit about all types of sports. So we're going to switch it over to the NHL, a sport not talked about so much here on the ASAP network, but we're going to bring you some stuff today. There's been talk about a potential divisional realignment. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but there has been up there in debate. And so we have a new divisional realignment that is currently proposed for the 2020-2021 NHL season. And it's interesting. I'll say that. It's definitely interesting. I'm going to I'm going to give a quick rundown. A lot of the divisions kind of stay the same. It's just that a lot of the teams, it's become more regional whenever we look at it. A lot of the Western teams are in one division, regardless of if you were in. It's the Western teams, the Central teams, the Eastern teams, and then there's the All Canadian division, which is the most interesting point about it. I know, Sarge, you had said something about the Canadian teams in the playoffs last season. What was that stat that you had said before we came on?
So every single Canadian team made the playoffs except for the Ottawa Senators, and the Senators ended up with 64 points during that season. And I believe the team that made the playoffs with the less points was 68 points, and I believe that was Montreal Canadiens. That my bad, my mistake. They had 71 points. That was my bad. So all in all the Canadians made it into playoffs except for the Senators, and with the all Canadian team, I think the Senators are not even going to make the playoffs whatsoever. Even though they're going to be in a different or in the same conference as other teams, it's going to be the same scenario for them. But I think that was kind of interesting.
It is weird when you're looking at it because the Canadian teams, I mean, you whenever you look at some of the Canadian teams, I mean, a lot of them are staples whenever it comes to the NHL postseason. You know, you look at the teams like the Maple Leafs; they're very young and up and coming. They're a phenomenal team. The Canadians have typically always been there. The Vancouver guys. There's a lot of good. Obviously, there's a lot of good Canadian teams. I mean, it's just one of those things to where if all of them but one are making the postseason, a lot of teams are going to be left out whenever it comes down to it. Because now you're in the same division, you're going to play each other more, a lot of more head-to-head matchups. You're not going to have the same win totals. A lot of teams, if this is to go through, a lot of teams are going to take dips. Because now you're looking at a divisional where the Maple Leafs aren't in the same division as the Bruins, the Lightning, the Red Wings, and everything such as that. Now they're in a whole completely different division. Nate, what's your takeaway whenever you're looking at this? What are your thoughts right now on just the realignment off of first look?
I think that the St. Louis Blues are the Dallas Cowboys when it comes to the alignment of the NHL. Because the St. Louis Blues are they're in a central time zone area. They're not exactly west. Or you could say Kansas City Chiefs in that matter as well. They're not exactly west. And yet they are in that Western division. They're not in the same division anymore with Chicago Blackhawks or Detroit Red Wings or any of that kind of stuff. They're in the division with the Stars, the Avalanche, and all that. And there's one other thing. They have a proposed lineup for this 2020 season, but next season is when the Seattle Kraken come in.
That's a big question mark. You know, it's one of those, is this going to be a temporary thing? Is this going to be the new NHL? Is this the way that the divisionals are going to line up? Because I mean, next season, you know, following this season, you're going to have a brand new team. And then where do you throw them? Do you have to redo divisions? Like, obviously, off of first look, this is going to go into the Western Division. Obviously, they're in Seattle. I mean, it doesn't get much more west than that. But because you're not just going to throw them into the All-Canadian Division, you're not going to throw them into the Eastern or the Central. It just doesn't make sense. But what does that do for a team like the Blues or a team like the Stars that aren't really Western themselves? It's a weird look, especially with the way that it's coming up right before a new team is introduced. Sarge, let's get your opinion on that. Like, what isn't it? This is like a little bit of weird timing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they jumped the gun on doing the re-division because I'm looking at the divisions and every division has 8 teams except for the Canadian team. That division has 7 teams in there. And I know Brenda Herrera put a comment also on there is what about this, some NHL looking to play some games outside? I don't know. I know the LA Kings are looking at that possibility. I don't know how they're going to do that. Are they going to import the snow from Mount Shasta from northern California to get the ice there? It's going to melt.
Mhm.
But I'm just looking at the divisions. I honestly think Dallas and Vegas are going to have a heyday on that west side, and Tampa Bay and Carolina is going to have fun. Are going to be on the top 2 teams in the Central, and on the east side it's going to be Boston and Washington's league with that one. Again, they jumped gun. I don't know where the Seattle's going to be put in because you got St. Louis on the west side, you got Tampa Bay on the central side. I don't know.
I tell you what, let's go. What's that?
I was just gonna say it's like the old NFL divisions like back in the 90s, like the Carolina Panthers were in the NFC South with the 49ers.
How were you
Cardinals and the Cardinals were in the NFC West.
Are you not following? Come on, keep up, people. Yeah.
When they were in St. Louis.
All right, let's go over each division and let's talk about what teams are we looking at. I want to hear 2 teams that you think are favorited in these divisions and a team or 2 up to you that you think is going to be a bottom dweller in this division. So let's talk about right now this Divisional 1, which is what we're looking at as kind of the Eastern Division. It comes down to the Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Washington Capitals. Right now, whenever you're looking at it, Sarge, I'm going to go over to you because you had just mentioned it. Whenever you're looking at that Eastern Division, what 2 teams did you say you had at the front running, and which one do you think is going to be at the tail end?
At the front, I see Boston and Washington are going to be trying to fight to the top of it, but at the bottom, it's going to be Buffalo and New Jersey. Buffalo, I forget what their playoff list streak is. It's better than the Mariners. I know that for sure. But, but I know the Buffalo and the New Jersey Devils will be at the bottom of that division.
All right, Nate, whenever you're looking at this Eastern Division, what teams do you think are going to do well and what teams do you see at the bottom?
I'm going to have to agree 100% with Sarge. Buffalo and New Jersey at the bottom, and then at the top, I'm going to go with Washington and Boston. And I'm just addressing a comment. Tampa Bay used to be in the old NFL Central with Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago.
No. The fact that the Bucs used to be in my division in the NFL is gross. But yeah, okay. Whenever I'm looking at this Eastern Division, obviously, the Capitals and the Bruins, I still think the Rangers are not going to be a great team. And I know that they had the first overall pick this year, but it was only because that they missed out on the playoffs. It was a weird situation in the draft to where compensation for going up to Toronto or Edmonton and losing out meant you had a potential chance at the number 1 overall pick. It wasn't going to the guaranteed last place team, which was really awkward. It was a really weird thing for the NHL to do. So the Rangers ended up with the number 1 pick, who was by far and away better than any prospect that was there. But I don't know how quick the Rangers can make a turnaround. I still see them as a bottom dweller in this team, in this division. I like the Flyers in this division as well. We saw the Flyers really come alive whenever it came down to the bubble up in Toronto. They came out of the Eastern Conference as the number 1 seed whenever they out of the pool play, the round robin tournament, leaving Tampa Bay at number 2. But whenever I'm looking at it, I still think the Bruins are still a very consistent team all the time. And the Capitals, as long as Alex Ovechkin's there, they're going to find a way to win games. It's interesting whenever you're looking at this one. So let's move over to what is considered the quote unquote Central Division, in which we have the Carolina Hurricanes, Columbus Blue Jackets, Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, the Florida Panthers, Minnesota Wild, the Nashville Predators, and the reigning champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Nate, I'll turn it over to you first. What teams are you liking and what team are you disliking in this division?
Tampa Bay Lightning for sure. I mean, for one, they made it last year. I mean, they won it against the Dallas Stars. But what I'm not liking, I'm not liking Detroit Red Wings or Chicago in this one.
All right, Sarge, I'll turn it over to you. What teams are you looking at as favorites in this division, and what teams are you looking at as bottom dwellers?
This division is like the all-Canadian team. The only team that did not make the playoffs was Detroit. But with Tampa Bay somehow being the Central with Carolina, those are going to be your top two teams. And I'm going to have to agree with Nate that I'm going to say Detroit and Chicago are going to be the bottom dwellers of that league. I just don't think they can compete.
You guys want to see something amazing?
What?
We're Stanley Cup champs, baby. We're Stanley Cup champs. Just saying.
I have my flags too.
I've never seen a shirt that I ever had before.
Your second place flags? Is that what it is? But
like second and fifth.
Only one team raises the Stanley, baby. Stanley needs a tan, and he finally came home. But yeah, no. Whenever I'm looking at this, obviously being a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, I'm going to take Tampa Bay. It's hard to take the reigning champion and not put them as favorites, especially when they didn't get worse. They've let go of a couple of pieces in which I saw as more of handicaps whenever I'm looking at the team. They still need to get rid of Brandon Coburn. Somebody needs to take away Braden Coburn from this team, please, dear God. Because other than that, he's just a defensive liability and he's much to not be on the ice. Obviously there's other teams, the Predators are an amazing team year in and year out. Whenever I'm looking at bottom dwellers, it's got to be the Red Wings. The Red Wings are they used to be a retirement home for teams, and now they've all retired, and it's just a very awkward group of guys out there. I mean, they're just not putting it together yet. The Red Wings are a very awkward team right now. I don't know where I stand on the Blackhawks. I still like the Blackhawks a little bit. I mean, whenever they still have their core, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, I feel like they can still make something happen, but they did just lose Corey Crawford, which is, been the staple guy for forever. Whoever's going to goaltend in Chicago got big pads to fill, to say the least. It's awkward. It definitely is awkward whenever you're looking at it. But I'm still going to go Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay and the Predators up there at the top. And then probably, if I had to pick another team, I'd probably put the Panthers down there, honestly. I don't like the Sergei Bobrovsky deal whenever he came out to Florida. I think it was really weird. They didn't stand very well in the bubble last season. Sergei Bobrovsky looked like a little bit of an old shell of himself. He was allowing in a lot of easy goals. Did not look like the Blue Jackets Bobrovsky. I'm gonna make a little bit of a hot take and bury them in the bottom of the division. So moving on to the Divisional 3, which is the quote-unquote Western Division, looking at the Anaheim Ducks, the Arizona Coyotes, the Colorado Avalanche, Dallas Stars, Los Angeles Kings, the San Jose Sharks, the St. Louis Blues, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Sarge, I'm going to turn it to you. What teams do you have at the top, and what team do you see at the bottom?
I actually got three teams at the top with this one. I think this is going to be a more competitive division. I'm gonna have to say Vegas and Dallas, and St. Louis is gonna be behind with that. In that division, Dallas put on a good show during the playoffs. I have no more faith in the Ducks and LA. I don't know what their situation is going to be because they're looking to find an outdoor rink, and I again that still blows my mind. I just don't know how they're going to do that there.
It's not the right team to be playing outside.
No.
Whenever you think of like the stadium series, you think of like Chicago, you think of Pittsburgh, you think of Philly. Like, why are we doing this in LA, sunny and 75?
Hey, at least it's not Texas.
I'm telling you, if my Tampa Bay Lightning play an outside game in Florida this season, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to literally vomit on camera. I will not. That would be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm going to turn it over to you, Nate. This Western Division, what teams are you looking at top, and what team are you seeing at the bottom?
At the bottom, I'm going to go with them first. I have the Ducks, and I have the Kings at the bottom. Kings are just awful, pretty much the worst team in LA. And then the Ducks also down there. The very top, I know it seems like a homer pick, but I'm also going with Colorado and Dallas. They've been stunning this last year. Colorado got out by Dallas, and Dallas lost to Tampa. I have them. I don't think the Golden Knights are going to do as well as they did in the past couple of years. I can see maybe a first or second round exit.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. They did take a step back this year. I mean, it's hard to beat your inaugural year going to the Stanley Cup. It's hard to top it. I mean, the only way to top it's to win it the next year. But a step back for sure. And then there's also questions about Marc-Andre Fleury if he's going to be there and everything such as that. So it's a weird situation for Vegas. But whenever I'm looking at this, whenever I'm looking at the new divisionals, I'm right there with Sarge. I feel like this is probably the most competitive division. Whenever I'm talking about. I mean, it's not competitive all the way through. Let's get that out of the way. But it is very top heavy. And I mean, whenever you're looking at teams like the Colorado Avalanche, you're looking at teams like the Dallas Stars, the St. Louis Blues, the Vegas Golden Knights. These are teams that have established themselves as very great contenders. I mean, the Blues have been a sign of consistency. They won the Cup not last season, but the year prior. Which I rep the Lou, so that's nice. I mean, that's if I had to pick a second team. I mean, I'm still a Lightning fan through and through, but it's nice to see St. Louis win a cup. Finally, nice to see people go to Blues games, which was amazing. But yeah, I'm big on the Blues. The Avalanche are a very young and exciting team. Nathan McKinnon and Sklag. Yeah. I mean, they're interesting. I mean, they're so fun to watch. They're just so fast. They're so complete. I feel like they just didn't show up last season, and it was so disappointing because this is the team that I had going to the Stanley Cup against the Tampa Bay Lightning whenever I was first looking at it. I mean, they're just so fun to watch. And then looking at the Vegas, obviously Vegas has done very good in their first couple years of the league. I mean, they've been up there as well. The Stars, obviously, the silver medal, were just up there too. Absolutely phenomenal team out there that you can't deny them whenever they have Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. It's just, is Ben Bishop going to be back? If Bishop can be back and healthy, it's going to be an amazing team. Unfortunately ran into Q-Dobin because right on time, Ben Bishop gets hurt again, per usual. But I mean, this is a very stacked division when it comes to whenever you're looking at the top. I think the Kings and the Coyotes are still going to be at the bottom. The Coyotes, Arizona doesn't even want the Coyotes there. Arizona is doing everything they can to push them out of Arizona. Whenever you're talking about they were forced to move stadiums. They're almost getting to the point to where they're not going to be in Arizona. Like, they're barely a franchise. And when we're looking at it, the mayors and the governors have been arguing to try to not let them play in Arizona. It's just they're such a weird franchise. And the Kings are not much better whenever we're looking at it. I mean, outdoor series in LA doesn't make any sense as a whole. And when you look at the roster, it doesn't make sense either. It's not a recipe for success by any means, but yeah, I don't see these teams going anywhere anytime soon. Especially the Coyotes. The Coyotes should continue to be the laughingstock of the league, but we'll see exactly how it plays out if these divisions are what they are. And going on to the final division, it's the all Canadian division. Every single Canadian team. I know. I don't have the whole list in front of me, but I know it's the Canadiens, the Senators, the Canucks, the Blue Jackets, the Flames. Help me out. Who all am I missing? I'm missing a couple of them. I know
Maple Leafs.
Wow, I missed the Maple Leafs. Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm with them. But you get the picture. It's all the Canadian teams. We'll move over to you, Sarge. What teams do you see at the top? I know you said that this is a very, very playoff heavy team whenever you're looking at it last year. What teams do you see flourishing in this division, and what team do you see at the bottom?
I see Toronto. I think Toronto is going to be probably the best team in there. They just signed my man George Thornton, who hopefully
Great player.
hopefully he gets the first Stanley Cup. Hall of Famer in my mind. He gets to be with Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Travers. With that, also on top there, and the bottom one is going to be the Senators. I don't like again. I like how playoff heavy it is. It's going to be entertaining, kind of like a West Division, but also you got the little man on the totem pole with the Ottawa Senators there.
All right, Nate, whenever you're looking at it, what Canadian team do you see at the top and what Canadian team do you see at the bottom?
I'm gonna have to agree with Sarge at the top. I'm gonna go with the Blue Jackets, but I do have a second pick, like a runner-up, and this might seem like a sleeper pick. I have the Canadians as that second part, and I'm gonna go with the Maple Leafs at the bottom.
Wow, you're putting Toronto at the bottom of this division?
Maple Leafs, yeah.
Wow.
Oh man.
You said you agree with Sarge. Sarge put him at the top, right?
Oh, I thought you put the Blue Jackets at the top.
Blue Jackets aren't in this division. They're in Ohio.
Yeah.
All Canada.
I mean,
hey, if they were in it, it becomes a contest. But
yeah, duh.
But you still have Toronto at the bottom. Do you?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's hot. Okay. That got a little spicy. Unlike Nate, I think Toronto is going to run away with this. I think this is best case scenario because Toronto is in a division right now where they have to go up against the Bruins, which we already said that they look like favorites in their division. They have to go up against the Lightning, which the reigning Stanley Cup champions. They're not getting any worse. It's an amazing team out there. They're in a very tough division. They have a lot of teams in there that are giving them a lot of fits, and such as the Philadelphia Flyers as well, another team that's in a decent division. This is a very deep division whenever it comes down to it. And we saw Toronto end up as a 4 seed, I want to say, or a 3 seed. They were battling Boston out of the round robin tournament to see who was going to get that bottom 4. They were in the top 4 play-in divisional setup, but they were trying to see who exactly is going to get that other seed. But this Toronto Maple Leafs team is just so young, and so the pieces are so good. Austin Matthews is amazing. I don't know if he won MVP, but he definitely should have gotten consideration. Mitch Marner is amazing. The addition of Joe Thornton's a nice veteran to help out the young guys. I love this Maple Leafs team, and as a Lightning fan, that makes me sick. But I do love some of the pieces that they have on the phenomenal. The Senators are going to be at the bottom. The Senators are so bad. They're right down there with the Coyotes as one of the most embarrassing divisions. It's just like it's just kind of gross to look at. The poor Senators. It's not getting any easier for them putting them in an all Canadian division. But yeah. So after that, we got a couple minutes here. So let's talk about the following season. Let's talk about the Seattle Kraken a little bit. We got a crackhead with us in Mr. Sarge, already a big Kraken fan. Let's talk about obviously there's no expectation whenever you're looking at it, but let's talk about how they're coming into a league at a weird time. Okay, that's fair. J-Mac made a great point. They do have a terrible front office, but their pieces are just so young and so good. The teams the players that they've drafted and they've built through their organization are phenomenal. But yeah, so going to the Kraken, obviously when a new team comes into the league, there's no expectation or anything like that, but you're following the most recent team that came into the NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights. You're following up a team that made it all the way to the Stanley Cup in their very first year. I'm going to go to you, Mr. Crackhead, Mr. Sarge. Do you have high hopes for this team when they first come in? Obviously we don't know anything about the players. We don't know anything about their roster. We don't know anything like that, but we do know how the expansion draft works. Obviously, teams get to protect a goalie. They get to protect 4 defensemen. They get to protect 9 skaters. So you're not always going to get the best of players. But sometimes they're able to piece a couple things together and they make a good rally, such as the Vegas Golden Knights. Do you have high expectations off of rip when this team's joining the league, or do you see them as more of the fellow teams that came in and won 9 games? Do you think this is going to be a bottom dweller off rip, or do you think they're going to be a more successful organization?
I know that I heard the expectations are going to be the Golden Knights. They want, from what I know, they want to follow the format that what they went through. I do not have high expectations for them. It's Seattle. We know how Seattle sports work. Come on. I don't have. They don't have a coach yet, so it's really hard to gauge on who the coach is, and what the coach likes. And like I said, we'll know more probably like 2 months before the draft. I believe like they'll probably have a coach 3 months before the draft. I think we'll have a better understanding what the Krakens are going to do. I hear they have a pretty cool ice rink, and it's all climate change free or something like that. And I think it's be a good for the Seattle area, since they lost the Supersonics, and they actually, I'm actually more surprised that we got a hockey team before another basketball team.
And I was going to say, you're not too far from Seattle. So give us a little bit of an inside scoop. Is there any buzz about this team up there? Is there a little bit of excitement coming around from people in Seattle, like maybe people you've talked to or anything such as that? Like what's the vibe with the Kraken up there?
Yeah, the Kraken's vibing. The merchandise is already out. They're already at Dick's Sporting Goods and everything else. You can go to any store, and everyone knows what the Kraken are. I like the name. I love the name. I think it's very fitting for a team here in the Seattle and so forth. But I'm excited. I being a crackhead, going to the crack house. Well, why not?
It's so great for marketing. I tell you that.
I love it. Yeah.
It reminds me of a Kit Kat bar.
Their logo is phenomenal. Whenever I'm looking at it, it's like it's so intricate with the S, and then you see like the Kraken arm inside of it and everything, the red eye in it. I mean, it's so well thought out. I'm a big fan of this marketing team and whoever put this all together, because they did a phenomenal job. Nate, I'll turn the question over to you. Do you think the pressure of following the Vegas Golden Knights is going to be a tough task for the Kraken, or do you think it's going to be easier than expected?
Outside of the Vegas Golden Knights, how many expansion teams do well in the first year?
Not many.
Yeah, exactly. Not very many. And I'm saying this now. I think that the Seattle Kraken, we're going to have to see, who they get as coach and who they get as this position, all that. But I'm saying this now. Outside of maybe the Detroit Red Wings, they might get first or second pick in the draft a few years down the road.
What's interesting about this expansion draft, and we saw it a lot whenever Vegas joined, is that sometimes a team is not able to protect all the players that they want to protect. Obviously, whenever it comes to limitations in the NHL expansion draft, like I said, you only get to protect 9 skaters, 4 defensemen, and a goalie. So obviously some players are going to be left out, and you may have some good role players or maybe some tough contracts that you don't want to necessarily protect or anything such as that. But what we did see, whenever it came to the Golden Knights, is that a lot of teams were offering the Golden Knights draft picks to protect their players. They say, we'll give you these draft in the upcoming draft, and then you can't take player X or you can't take player Y. Which was an interesting strategy, and it worked out very well. And they built up a lot of draft capital that way. I mean, I remember the first year that the Golden Knights were in the league. I want to say in the first 2 rounds they had 6 picks, maybe more, maybe just a little bit less, but they had a significant amount of picks going into it, which is interesting. And I think it's going to work out pretty well for the Kraken. I'm kind of with you, Nate. I don't think they're going to. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to come out here and say they're going to follow in the footsteps of the Golden Knights. That's tough. I mean, they did come out in their very first year, make it all the way to the Stanley Cup. And I even joked about it among my friends. I was like, Vegas is going to the Cup. Just watch. Do you see that roster? It's amazing. But, I mean, they had William Karlsson step up in his first year, a guy who had never scored more than 15 points in a season, and then all of a sudden becomes a 75-point scorer at the end of the season, racking up 40-some goals and 30-some assists. I mean, and then they had an amazing goalie fall into their hands in Marc-Andre Fleury on an expiring contract, which is so lucky. But I don't know if you're going to get a similar goalie or a netminder such as that. You're going to have to get very lucky whenever it comes down to it. I think the expectation may be, especially from casual NHL fans, may be a little too high. because you see a team like Vegas come in and they're going to be like, oh, Vegas came in, they made it to the Cup their first year. What are you doing? I'm just hoping that the Seattle fan base, all the crackheads at the crack house, are not thinking the same exact way, because then it's going to become a problem. And I mean, I'm rooting for this team. Like I said, I've seen jersey concepts. I've seen the logo. I mean, it's a phenomenally marketed team, and they've done very well up there in Seattle. But that's it for our topics today. We got a couple of minutes here. If anybody has any last minute takes, any last minute comments to make, Nate, I'll turn it over to you first. Any last words for the first episode of Sports Corner?
Oh, yeah, it was a phenomenal episode of Sports Corner. Phenomenal game for the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns, that 47-42 victory for Baltimore. And yeah, that's all I had.
Sarge, any final words?
A great way to start off the show after a great Monday night game. I really do hope that next Monday is the same type great game, even if it is flex or not. I just hope for a great game. And yeah, it was really good. All
right. Tell you what, for the first episode of Sports Corner, great time. Glad to finally talk some NHL. I know I haven't so far on the ASAP network, so I was glad to finally get some words out there about the NHL. That season's getting ready to start back up. The NBA is getting ready to start back up. Winter meetings are coming for baseball. It's about to be a very interesting time. So we may be getting to a point where we're going to be having to throw a lot of topics in here. But yeah, we're going to be right back. Sports Corner is going to be on Thursday. It's a new crew of people. I'm not sure who all. I know it's Trey. Is it Conman, Trey, and who else?
It's me.
Oh, okay. So Nate's on both Sports Corners. So there you go. Yeah. A staple of Sports Corner here. So Nate, Trey from Jock Talk, and then Conman, Mr. Michael Kahn. He will be on here as well on Thursday to recap Thursday Night Football, as well as some more sports topics. Again, this is a very open discussion-based type of show where we're going to talk about all types of different topics. You just happen to catch Monday Night Football. Amazing game, by the way. Glad we got this game to start off. And some NHL topics, but maybe some new topics on Thursday. We'll see exactly what all is to come. But until then, we'll catch you on the next time. Nate, go ahead and roll us on out of here.
All right.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.